you for joining us. This is Brad, your MasterClass community manager. And online, we have a bunch of students in your class who have been hosting events, planning activities for you guys to participate in. So we're going to start with introducing everyone. So let's start on the very left. That looks like it's Maya's first. You're muted, Maya.
My apologies.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can.
Fantastic. Hi, my name is Maya Solomon, and I'm from a little country in Europe called Slovenia, and occasionally Australia. I'm one of 2 organizers of the Composers Network. My first introduction to music theory and instruments was when I was about 6 years old, and then I started to get into composing at about 15. MasterClass the day before it launched, and my favorite episode is lesson 3, story.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Maya. Next is Ashton.
All right. First of all, pleasure to be here today, and thank you so much, Brad and MasterClass, for hosting the event. It is a true pleasure to be here with all you guys. So I am a composer and filmmaker from Indianapolis, Indiana. I have a YouTube channel where I do composition and theory tutorials, film score analysis, sample library reviews, stuff like that. I have a little production company out here in Indianapolis made up of around 10 people, and we sort of create short films and everything. I'll be in New York all of June at a few workshops at New York University, and then I'll be in LA actually all July for an internship at RCP and for a couple other things. So I'm just looking forward to getting out of my comfort zone, which is the studio, and sort of getting, because I am pale enough, so I need to get some sun first of all. So I look forward to getting out there and getting to LA and meeting people and networking and identifying, the true hotspot of film composition, which is of course LA. There's so many great people, so many talented people, hardworking people. So it'll be a pleasure to be able to meet them. And I'm here with some of them right now. So a pleasure to be with you guys.
Cool. Thanks, Ashton. Next up, we have Bailey.
All right. Hi there, guys. My name is Bailey Huff. I'm from Chandler, Arizona, and I'm currently a senior at Basha High School. I got into music when I was about 8 years old. I started piano lessons, took those for about 8 years, and then I didn't fully really get into music experience until my sophomore year of high school when I joined a marching band. I've been a member of the front ensemble playing vibes and synthesizer. And not until this year have I really gotten into composition. So that's been a lot of fun, and I'm really excited to be here. And I guess my favorite MasterClass lesson so far was episode 15, or was it 16, on the character development of the Joker.
Awesome, thanks, Bailey. That's a great lesson. Next up, we have Drew.
Hi guys. My name is Drew Milligan, and I've been working in the music industry for about 30 years, composing, working in TV, film, and computer games. I'm self-taught, and my favorite lesson is 17, which was character theme, quite close to Bailey's. But I just like that one because I think Hans just kind of showed his vulnerability a bit in that one, which I think was quite appealing, just to know that, nobody's perfect, and we all kind of, a bit of unsure of ourselves sometimes being composers. I run the MasterClass. I don't run the MasterClass at all. I run TCN, which is the Composers Network, with Maya. We'll talk about that more later, and I'll pass you on to the next person. Thank you very much.
Cool. Thanks, Drew. Next up is Kyle.
Hey guys, my name is Kyle Whitted. I live in Cincinnati, Ohio. I started music, I've been doing music for as long as I can remember, but I played trombone throughout high school, middle school, and I played drums, and I played keyboard and bass. And I went to Full Sail University for recording engineering, where I got my degree. And currently I work at an amusement park called Kings Island as the media production department, where I make sound effects and music and video for all the attractions and all the media content that they like. And my favorite Hans Zimmer MasterClass lesson was, it's not very original because Drew said it. It was it was lesson 17, the character study for Jack Sparrow. I just thought it was interesting how Hans went about talking how going in and out of each measure, he was just delving into each different character trait of Jack. Oh, hi,
Cool,
Zach.
thanks. Yeah, Zach made it. Thanks, Kyle. Next up, we have Raymond.
Hey guys, Raymond Woods here. I live in Cincinnati, Ohio. Funny thing, I'm actually from Indianapolis, Indiana originally. I've been doing music for maybe 20 years now.
Indianapolis for the win.
Yeah, go Colts. So I play keyboard, organ, bass, a little bit of saxophone. I actually am also an audio engineer, film composer. I'm actually working on a couple of films right now. I'm a part of the Hans Zimmer MasterClass community, along with Bailey, Kyle, and Zach. And I think my favorite part of the MasterClass, since everyone else has already said story and character development, would have to also be, I think the diary. I think, you know, the song diary and building the story as it goes along and scrapping ideas, and Hans's process is really, really insightful. So glad to be here.
Cool. Thanks for joining us, Raymond. Next up, we have Timothy.
Hey guys, my name's Timothy William. How are you? Thanks, Brad, for putting this all together. Really great job. Thanks to everyone who was able to join today. I'm a composer, multi-instrumentalist out of Orlando, Florida. Ashton and I have worked to create the Hans Zimmer MasterClass Academy, which has evolved. We'll talk about that in a little bit. My favorite lesson was probably number 8, creating with synths, because that's kind of what I do. So thank you guys so much for being here.
Thanks, Timothy. And last, we have Zach, who almost didn't make it.
Hey guys, so what's up? Okay, so my favorite lesson by Hans. Oh, I'm Zach Smith. I'm sorry, I just woke up, so I'm like tired. My name is Zach Smith, and my favorite lesson by Hans would be actually the first one where he went over like the melody and thing. That was cool.
Cool. Thanks so much, Zach, for joining us. Thank everyone for joining us. We're going to start by going, so how this is going to work, we're going to go through all the different projects that everyone here is working on. We're going to go through each project one at a time, and then we'll have like an open discussion at the end. If anyone's watching, you leave a comment in the hub if you have any questions about what we're going through. So just like go to the link, scroll down, leave a comment, and reply to the post, and we will we'll answer those at the end. But we're going to start with Kyle and the film project that they're working on, their team, This Is What It's About films. So go ahead, Kyle, take it on.
Thank you, Brad. And I'm also originally from Indiana. So I'm part of the MasterClass community, which is also including Zach, Raymond, and Bailey. And we are all putting together a MasterClass project called This Is What It's About, which is a film that is going to be comprised of over 100 composers from MasterClass, all coming together and creating one score for one picture. And the plan that we have for this video, or for this film, is to paint a picture of the whole entire world using music as well as film, because we've also gotten a chance to get in touch with the Werner Herzog group, which, by the way, thank you, Brad, for that. And in that, we are able to get in touch with the Herzog group, and we are taking the compositions that we get from the composers who are in each country, putting them together, and we are getting filmmakers who are in those countries to go out and shoot either we're going to try to get them to shoot either, historic landmarks. We're going to get them to shoot around their cities, basically what you would imagine each country to appear as on film. But we're also going to try to hook up a composer who is actually in the movie, in the film, with a filmmaker group, and try to get them to film a day in the life, a dramatized day in the life of a composer. And that's probably going to be the hardest part about it, is trying to get those people to meet up. So, but This Is What It's About the title is taken from a video that we made a while back where Zach had this brainstorm in the middle of the night where he just said, everybody send in a 15-second video saying, Hans, you've made my life blank. And, you know, people would say magical, musical, inspiring, or however Hans has affected you. And he put all those together, and we sent it out to MasterClass, and MasterClass liked it, and they did a special screening of Hans Zimmer's lesson plans with Hans Zimmer himself, and they showed him some of the lessons. And at the end, for a special treat, they showed him our video. And Hans liked it so much that he said, fuck the Oscars, this is what it's about. And so that's where we took the name for the video, for the film. And currently, we have over 140 composers who have submitted their music for the project. And as a special announcement for tonight, we'd like to say that we are reopening submissions for the next week. So from now, which is May 18th until May 25th, we will be accepting even more composer submissions to grow this even larger. And what we're going to do with the final film is we're going to submit it into the 2018 Sundance Film Festival. And we're really hoping with the large scale of it, using all the different composers and using all the different filmmakers, we're really hoping that it can become something super amazing, and we can get it shown to as many people as possible.
Awesome, thanks so much. What is it that individual students, they all have to submit one entry into the part of the sound check, correct?
Yes, yeah. So for the entry, it's pretty simple. You can pretty much do it in an afternoon if you're so inclined. But it's 16 measures at 180 beats per minute of E major or E minor, and you can make the theme basically. Originally, we were talking about going with a sad theme, and that's what we were telling everybody to begin with. But, I mean, you can basically make the theme any way that you like. And all that you have to do is submit your MIDI file of your project so that we can kind of we can put everything into the same kind of sample libraries and get the same kind of patches and everything. And we're going to send everything to a master arranger who's going to take it all and kind of make it all work together. Because if we don't do that, it's just going to be madness. So from that also, what they can send in is a 30-second video in 1080p, a video of themselves centered, sitting on a chair, looking at the camera, and we plan to be using that as part of the credits or as part of like "This Is Your Country" kind of segment of the film.
Cool. And how many people so far have completed? You said there's over 100 so far? We
have over 140.
Oh, wow. And you're opening it up for another week, so anyone else can submit in the next week.
Well, we figured with this roundtable, we would get a lot of people who didn't necessarily hear about the project to begin with. So we decided let's just extend it for another week so that they can get into it if they like.
Cool. And where can people find the most up-to-date information for this project?
You can find the most up-to-date information on either our Facebook page, which is called MasterClass Community or Hans Zimmer MasterClass Community, or you can go to our website, itsaboutfilm.com, itsaboutfilm.com. And that's where you can find like all the guidelines and the PDFs and the example videos and everything there that you can kind of use to build your own version of what you need to do.
Cool. Anything else you want to share with everyone before we move on to the next project? Or does anyone else want to jump in and say anything?
I'd personally like to say thank you to everyone who has submitted, because it's been a very long process and it's been a very, very time-consuming project. And everyone who has sent in their submissions they've been great, and it's been amazing. And I can't wait to get it all together and to make the final film. I'm just super excited about it. You're muted, Brad.
I'm awesome. Yeah, I figured that. Thanks so much. Awesome. All right, cool. We'll move on to the next project. We're going to talk about the Composers Network, and that's Maya and Drew. You guys want to go ahead and take it away?
Just trying to unmute. It's a bit of a tricky button, that one. Yes, yeah, first of all, we just wanted to say again, thanks to MasterClass for putting this on, and thanks to Kyle and Zach for kind of approaching you guys to set this up in the first place. And of course, thanks to Hans for doing the masterclass in the first place with you, which obviously that's the reason we're all here. So yeah, to explain a little bit about TCN, the Composers Network, and the opportunities that we've got going on. The most important one, I think, which I'd like to mention to start with is we basically, what we're trying to do in TCN is trying to help composers and support composers as much as possible, as well as obviously discussing the masterclass and the lessons that have been going on. We've set up an opportunity for composers to come in and submit tracks for library music. I think, you know, if people don't understand necessarily what library music is at this point in time, quite a few composers who have worked their way into the industry or working their way into the industry to get more established. Quite a lot of them actually do library music as well as doing TV music and some films and documentaries and things like that. And it can be a very good way of kind of funding yourself while you're trying to work your way into the industry and create better contacts and give yourself better opportunities. So what we're trying to do is we've linked up with BMG, which is obviously quite a big label. And if you haven't heard of them, then definitely search them out. You'll see what they've done in the past. We've linked up with BMG and a company called Beds and Beats. And we're putting the first library together at this point in time. But we've actually got at least another 4 or 5 albums currently on the back burner with different concepts and stuff like that. So this is through our Discord server. We're in the process of building a website, which will then transition to because of the interest and stuff like that. But at the moment, it's through our Discord server, which there are links in the hub. If you look for the Composers Network, you'll see those. So yeah, we're just looking for people to get involved. Quite a few submissions already, some really good stuff, and everyone's at different levels. So we're just saying to people, look, you know, don't feel self-conscious, just put your stuff in, let us have a listen to it. We also give constructive feedback and constructive criticism, trying to help people forward, suggesting different things for them. We have guys who are mixers, mix engineers and engineers to help people out with their productions or their mixers. So as much as possible, trying to get the opportunity out there for people so that they can get the stuff in and hopefully get some usages on TV, film and adverts and whatever, so that they can start to push their careers forward. And that's the main thing, apart from other things that hopefully we'll get to talk about later, which are quite exciting. But that's the main one that we've got going at the moment, which we're kind of buzzed about. So there you go.
Cool. Can you explain a little bit more about like what you guys have done so far in the past, you know, couple months, and what you like are hoping to do with other students in the next, you know, coming up months?
Absolutely. Well, I think Maya can jump in if she wants to and just kind of say a few words about that. Give her a chance. And we can't hear her. Okay, I'll carry on until she comes in. Yeah, so the stuff we've been doing so far. So we basically, Maya set the Discord server up literally on the first day, I think, as she said, when the Hans Zimmer class started. And I joined her a couple of days after that, because just being in the Discord server and seeing what was going on, interacting with people. We have chat rooms, we have text chat rooms, and we have live voice chat rooms as well. So the kind of banter's really good in there, and people tend to have fun. And Maya started off running collaboration games and composition games and stuff like that, as well as the discussions on the lessons and the masterclass stuff itself and the workbook and everything. So that's been going on for some time now, but we've developed into more and more things. And a lot of our members were asking us how we were going to transition and whether we were going to keep going after masterclass. That's why we decided to initially change the name to the Composers Network and actually build something from that, to try and continue to support and develop and help composers with what they're doing. So the collaboration games are great. And we do share your work nights, where people can just, you know, which is always a good one, actually. That can get quite boisterous in there when people are, showing their works. It's kind of competitive, but in a nice way. But everyone will give you feedback on your tracks and suggest different things. So it's just kind of lively in there. The voice chats are really good, and there's short competitions, comp stomps, which are literally half an hour, which are very specific. You have to compose for a specific instrument, whereas the collaboration games are an hour long, and you have a specific brief that you have to compose to. You have an hour to do it, and then again we share the compositions at the end, and everyone can comment basically, and that's where we get some really good interactions with our members. There's a lot more going on than that, which if you join the server, yes, we can hear you now. If you join the server, then basically you can get in and have a look at exactly what we're doing. There's quite a few different things going on there. I don't know what you've missed, Maya, so I've hopefully kind of explained it enough.
Everything.
But yeah. Over to you, Brad.
Yeah, Maya, do you want to give us a little bit of an explanation of why you started? Sorry, Drew just talked about this a little bit, but do you want to give an explanation of like why you started the Composers Network when the class first launched?
Yes, and that's exactly where I started off, but it didn't work. So the Composers Network started off on the 10th of the 2nd, 2017 as the Hans Zimmer MasterClass Discord server. It was right on the day that it started off, and I was initially looking for, to try and find some people to hopefully interact with them in more than just text chat, and kind of like more of a more personal level, have a chat, maybe do some feedback, discuss things. And before I knew it, I created it, I shared the link, and instantly people started coming in more and more and more, from 10 to 100 to, and it just grew from there. And on the day, the ideas that I've had in the past of what can be done with, other people, composers in areas such as art, just kept flooding in. And I just decided, you know what, I'm going to try and put this down on paper and make it happen. And before I knew it, everybody was into it. And, they were like, you know what, we want to try this. Let's see if it works, and let's do trial and error. And then on the second day, I met up with Blunt, and we started talking. The enthusiasm was there right from the beginning, and we were just the ideas, like, what can we do? How we can expand on MasterClass? How can we connect MasterClass with, what we have in the server? How can we interact with composers? What can we do to just, spark up that atmosphere that tends to, I've often found when you have this kind of classes and things online, it tends to die pretty quickly, and people go their own separate ways. And, as composers, we can all agree we're pretty solitary animals, and really find a kind of a balance where we can communicate as well as compose at the same time, while it's progressing. Progress has been something that's been really big in the Composers Network. And I'm just very enthusiastic and just so grateful to our members, because if they weren't enthusiastic with us to try new things, we've had a couple of errors, and we've had times where things would go over time, but everybody's just been so patient with us, and just looking forward to what, ideas, and helping us develop them, and overall, together, creating and working on creating a community that can inspire each other, work together, and invent new things.
Awesome, that's so cool. I want to say that when you guys, this is the first, the Composers Network is the first like community program that I saw anyone in the class doing. And I remember the very first day that you guys told me about it. I think you messaged me, Maya, on
Yes.
the hub, and I went to it, and I very sneakily, I'm probably not that sneaky because you can see, but I started listening to some of the conversations. And I remember the one that I was listening to, I don't know who it was, I don't think it was either of you two, but it was a man and a woman, and they were discussing, I can't remember what they were, but they were making music right there. And it was really cool to listen to the audio channel, and they were just like discussing something. They were using guitars, and it was actually a really, really cool thing to see. So if you guys have a chance and you have some time, they have schedules that they post weekly in the hub and they always share about what they're doing. So if you get a chance, check it out. It's really, really cool.
Thanks,
Yeah,
Brad.
thank you.
Yeah. All right. So for our next group, I'm going to pass it to Ashton, who's going to talk about the Hans Zimmer's MasterClass Academy.
Yeah, first of all, those are some amazing groups, and it's
So a little quiet for you, Ashton. Is there a way?
you lowered my level. There was a notification saying
I
that.
did. I lower it. Hang on a sec. That was me. Yeah, go ahead.
All right, there we go. Yeah, so it's inspiring to see how much activity there is in the composing world. We need more people like you to continue the conversation and really help to bring people together and to converse about it, because what it really is all about, it's all about people conversing, and human interaction is really at the center of all this stuff, because they can throw as much information at you, but if people don't talk about it, talk about the contextual importance of it, how we use it in our daily lives and our workflow, it wouldn't really matter at all. So I think that's the goal fundamentally of each one of our groups. It's really to help bring conversation to everyone and help immerse people further inside of the masterclass in this case. So I run the Global Composers Network, which was previously known at the Hans Zimmer Masterclass Academy. Timothy is our co-founder. We host weekly activities, daily topic discussions, etc. I'll sort of talk over that. But we started as the Hans Zimmer Masterclass Academy, and we hosted events, film score breakdowns for things like The Dark Knight, Gladiator, and Inception, which we actually did full orchestral recreations and in-depth analysis. So what we do is we take those films and we completely strip the score down. We'd identify all of the thematic material, completely rebuild it orchestrally, and we do live streams where we'd sort of cover that and talk about the compositional style of Hans and his sort of evolution throughout his career. So that's one of the things that we did in the Hans Zimmer Masterclass Academy. We were a very active group. It was amazing to see all the people that were involved in the conversation. And then after we sort of felt as though we could expand on what the group was. And so we turned it into something called the Global Composers Network, which is now almost at 2,000 members. And we have composers, orchestrators, musicians, and pretty much what we do is we have daily topic discussions. So Mondays are film scoring Mondays, Tuesdays are synth and technology, Wednesdays are orchestration, Thursdays are sample libraries and software, and Fridays are sharing and critique. And we have a lot of fantastic people who like to contribute. Hans himself is even, I believe, in the group on Facebook. So yeah, it's a fantastic time to be on that group and see everyone. And we do have composer activities. So for example, this week we have something called the Imitation Game, which of course was a film and a score by Desplat, but that's not what it's about. Pretty much what we do is we have 15 people who sign up. We had around 30 submissions this morning. It's wild, but we had 15 people and we assigned them to Hollywood film composers. So we had everyone from Hans Zimmer to John Williams to James Newton Howard, Harry Gregson Williams, and we assigned them to a Hollywood film composer, and they have to write a 30-second to 60-second cue in the style of that film composer. Now, obviously, film composers have to be versatile because, of course, they have many projects that they do of different genres. But I think in each composer, you can sort of identify different niches and things that they do that's different from everyone else. That's sort of what we're all about. So I just wanted to keep it, short and to the point. But that's sort of what we're all about. And again, great to be talking with you guys today. And I love what you guys are doing with your groups.
Cool. Thanks so much, Ashton. So I think now is probably a good time. I would love to know a little bit more from each person who's participating, why you started doing these sort of events. We heard from Maya why she started, and Ashton how you got started, and Drew. But for everyone else who maybe hasn't spoken, why did you sign up to start working on these projects? We could do volunteer go first, and we can just go through the list. We can start with Bailey if you want.
Yep. I mean, I guess I can go.
Yeah.
Can you guys hear me okay?
That's good.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry. All right. So I was actually recruited for the project by Zach. And the project had actually gone through some changes, but I was kind of brought on as more of being in charge of the social media accounts, just keeping the MasterClass community Facebook page alive. So I've been doing a lot of that. And also now with our project, this is what it's about. I've been in charge of getting some of the late submissions or more of answering questions and just, answering things that I can that I don't need to push on to Keel, Zach, or Ray. So it's been a lot of fun, and I really appreciate the opportunity because this is like beyond what, it's beyond what I was doing 6 months ago.
Who's Keel?
Sorry, Kyle. I keep saying
I have to tell you, I
Keel.
do feel very, very bad
I'm
because
so
when we
sorry.
had our discussion events, we split the masterclass into 3 parts, and we had discussion events where we brought on some of you guys. Bailey was part of it. Some of you guys were a part of it, and I mentioned Kyle, and at first I was like, "Hello, everyone, welcome, Keel," and I thought before he even spoke, because he'd come on the chat and he hadn't spoken yet, and I thought he was like Russian or something. I was like, Kiel. I was trying to like pronounce it ethnically. And then he was like, Ashton, it's actually Kyle. I was like, crap, but very embarrassing moment on my behalf, I have to tell you.
We did a talk on the
So sorry,
Discord server, and Maya did the
Kyle.
exact same thing.
Yeah. I digress, though.
Maya's still doing it.
I thought the same thing when I was emailing you the first time too. It's like, what? How do you pronounce this? And then I don't think I ever said it wrong. I think you told me it before we got our first conversation, or you said it's Kyle or whatever. And I was like, okay, good. So now I know.
I think a lot of people also confuse how to pronounce Hans, because his actual pronunciation is Hans, and I think a lot of people don't know that, but a lot of people just say Hans because it sounds even more German than Hans. It's like Hans, like Hans. It's very German, but yeah.
Yeah, I'm used to it, so it's okay.
Raymond, do you want to go explain how you got started and what you're excited about?
Sure, no problem. So I created the Hans Zimmer MasterClass community because I actually didn't know anyone. I was really excited. Before the class launched, we were doing the introductions before the class went live, and thought it'd be a great idea to just get to know different people in the community. I wasn't aware of Discord or Ashton's group, so I created it just a network, and as a result, ran into Zach, Bailey, Kyle, and some other people, and we started the project. It started like Kyle said. It started off with something different and morphed into what it is today. So it's been a great experience.
Awesome. All right, and let's go to Timothy.
Yeah, just it's a lot of content, right? And we did have a little downtime at the beginning, as we know, so we were kind of trying to fill that gap a little bit. Around the same time, just trying to kind of expand on the course content, because some people will binge on the content, as we know, and some people space it out like a normal college course. So we wanted to have something to kind of bridge that all together. So Ashton and I kind of spun up the Hans Zimmer Masterclass Academy, as we said, which has evolved into something else, which Ashton told you about. But yeah, it was just to kind of give people a different perspective. And Ashton's a filmmaker and composer. I'm a composer. So just kind of getting that similar mindset of people around, and just expanding on that, as well as the content in the hub, really.
And one thing I do have to say regarding, the group and sort of why we developed it in the first place, and I think that's because like on Facebook groups and in groups in general throughout history, to be honest with you, we see a whole lot of sort of competition and some really sort of rough edges when it comes to groups dealing with each other. Groups are trying to outsmart other groups. They're trying to get more members than other groups, have more credits than other groups. And I think what we really wanted to do is we wanted to create this very psychologically healthy environment for which people can discuss, for which people can exchange ideas, for which we can have people sort of from all levels of composition. And we can have people who are more experienced help people who are less experienced. We can converse, because I think, like I said in the beginning of the discussion, I think conversation is probably the most important part of all of this. So that's sort of why we wanted to develop it in the first place. And that was our fundamental goal with it all. And I think that, throughout the history of the group, we've always maintained that sort of mindset. Because if you go to some of the Facebook groups, I will say, you'll find some admins who are kicking people out because they disagree with them. You'll find people who are very hostile and very aggressive. What we wanted to do is my dad's a psychologist, so I wanted to bring that psychology aspect into a Facebook group and create a really healthy environment. So I think that was one of the essential goals of the group, and I think that that's what we've done.
Awesome. Thanks so much. All right, let's kick it off to Zach.
Well done. Well articulated. Yes.
Yeah, go ahead and tell us how you got started in working on your projects and what you're excited about for it.
Okay. It was a long time ago. I can't remember actually. I mean, it was just like I wanted to do something that could involve everyone, I guess. And yeah, so I began talking to Kyle, and then Ray, and the rest of the guys. And well, the expectations, I mean, we had an idea of where it could go, but I mean, it just went beyond that. And I even applied, or I've applied for 2 Guinness records for the project, because I've done some research, and I found that we might have the film that has the largest amount of composers in a film. So we might get a world record for that. Yeah.
All right, cool. So we have a little extra time. We have 20 minutes. So if anyone's watching at home and you're in the hub, you can leave a comment in the hub to see if you have any questions for anything we've discussed today. While we're waiting to see if there's any questions, we can talk a little bit about the lessons. We already talked about like what your favorite lesson has been, but does anyone want to have anything? Maybe what's like the one thing that you've taken away from Hans's class so far that you thought was like the best, most informative lesson? Not like specifically a lesson, but a learning, I guess, that you took away.
Sorry, Timothy, you go ahead. I've spoken too much, to be honest. So you please, you go ahead.
Just briefly, this is something I want to address because I've seen it everywhere on Facebook and the hub too. A lot of people, they want, I want to see Hans get into Cubase and really start a track and start messing with MIDI and doing all, doing composer stuff. But what we're getting is something so much more valuable, because what we're getting is perspective into the way that Zimmer thinks. You can go watch a million videos on YouTube or Facebook or join groups and watch people compose all day long. So that's just the one thing I wanted to say, was the content there was much more important to me than technical content. So that was just one thing I definitely wanted to say.
I would totally say that too. In the development of the group, when we were first sort of speaking with people, seeing if they'd be interested in being involved in the group, there were a lot of, I don't want to say snobby because it sounds fairly rude, but I would say people who were like, oh, that's not going to have anything in it. It's just going to be general information. Go to this composer on YouTube because he has tons of theory stuff. But Timothy, what he said is incredibly true. You can go anywhere and you can get theory lessons, you can get compositional lessons, you can understand that. Simply analyzing Hans's music, you can understand his compositional approach and the way for which he actually composes, the chord resolutions that he commonly uses, the way for which he sort of creates his themes, but actually understanding the intellectual, emotional part of Hans and the way for which he reacts to films and has discussions with directors and the way for which he actually functions inside of the music industry. That is so incredibly, I think a lot of us, when we think of Hollywood, it's a very aggressive industry. There's tons of stuff going on. Being a film composer, it's almost like, I've always thought of it, like you're being dropped into a war zone because there's producers and there's directors everywhere and it's complete chaos. And understanding how somebody like Hans, who's at the top of his game and what it is that he does, understanding how he deals with that and understanding the way for which he conceptualizes ideas. And, one of the favorite parts that I personally had from the masterclass is when he discussed the importance in us understanding film as it is. So understanding light, cinematography, and understanding how, camera movement can affect our emotions. And it's all so incredibly important. And I think that, I just recently got done doing an analysis of Jed Kurtzel, who is the Alien Covenant composer. And I did an analysis of his Macbeth score from 2015. And if you take a look at the cinematography from that film, from Adam Arkapaw, who also did, Assassin's Creed, that type of stuff, you see this very sort of gritty, old English, very aggressive, unstable look. And when you actually listen to the score, it's very unstable. The strings are out of tune. It's very in your face. It's not very comforting. It's not not something you want to put on your iPod when you're running, that's for sure. But when you listen to it, it automatically immerses you into that cinematic experience when you were watching the film. So I think that that's one thing that Hans very much focuses on. Hans works on a lot of films where he has Dariusz Wolski, like Pirates of the Caribbean and that type of stuff. And it's such vast canvases. And I think that in order to match that musically, you really have to understand the way for which light works and the way for which cinematography has an effect on the story. So that was my personal favorite part, because it showed how much as composers we need to understand, And so that's my little favorite part.
Yeah, that's a really good aspect. I think the most the most important and the thing that I'm going to be taking away from it most of all is going to be the type of personality that Hans has, because his personality matches really well with the type of music that he produces. And I don't know if that's what he means to do, but I mean, like, he has a bit of a naughty kind of sense of humor, and he seems to like to put that into a lot of things, especially like his Jack Sparrow or his Joker themes, or anything that he does. But he also has a very, very psychological aspect when he looks at things, and how he kind of tends to think of things outside of the box, and then he puts them into his scores, and he gets them to work into these points to where they're just beautiful, and they just it's really well done. And obviously he's a genius, and I mean, he's a genius when we're taking his MasterClass, so obviously. But just like the thing that struck me the most, like I was saying, is like how he thinks and how he interprets things and how he can put those into a score. And it really kind of has opened my mind as to what actually can be a part of music, and how it can actually kind of, how you can blend sound design as well as musical design, or I guess instrumentation, and how you can make like this just, like he's said himself, he finds it very hard to discern between sound design and what he does as a composer. And I think that's really cool to me.
I think for me personally as well, it's just the way he kind of, I said before, the way he kind of shows his vulnerability a little bit, and not only being able to take away a lot of stuff from the lessons anyway, just kind of general tips and just seeing how he approaches different things. But I like the fact that, I think, and talking to another quite established composer the other day, and he was saying exactly the same thing. I mean, most of the time not knowing where you're going to start when you do a film, not knowing how you're going to start to compose, and completely doubting yourself. And even when it's finished, not believing in it being the best thing that you've ever done, and always coming from that place of insecurity, which I think, again, like Maya said, as composers, this is something that I think happens to all of us, I would guess. But seeing his vulnerability, it's reassuring, I think, for a lot of people who are starting off, and a lot of even more established people, who are kind of generally working into their career now. It's just reassuring to know that he's still vulnerable, even though he's so established. There's no arrogance at all. I know he's obviously very confident about what he does. You have to be, but that for me, and I think talking to some of our members when we've discussed the lessons and the masterclass in general, it appeals to people. Do you know what I mean? Just to know that he has those thoughts, and he thinks about it, and he approaches it in that way. I think that was the thing that I took away from it more than anything, to be honest.
You literally took the words out of my mouth.
Yeah, it was quite strong. That's the thing. It was quite it was quite an interesting thing to see, wasn't it? Yeah.
And for me, I would say, he's very human, because when you think about Hollywood composers and actors and people on that level, it's almost like they're so mythical that you can't touch them. And then we hear Hans starts with his diary, and it's like, I don't know what I'm going to do. It's just a blank sheet of paper, and I'm just going to start with this funky sound and just see where it goes from there. And if it works, it works. If it doesn't, oh well, we'll start over. And that just lets you know that, if he can do it and he struggles, I can as well. So it's very encouraging.
And you two bring up Yeah,
Sorry.
you two bring up wonderful points, both Blunt and Raymond. And one thing that I've loved about the masterclasses in general, because I did the Werner Herzog masterclass, and just like you guys are saying, growing that familiarity with these people who we think of who are at the top of their game, and they are at the top of their game, and being able to identify the way for which they act on a human level. Because when we're watching these masterclasses, it's almost like they're in the room with us, and we're just sort of learning from them. And for those of us who are taking notes, it's almost like we're in a classroom and we're just we're listening to this guy. And I think that Hollywood is a fairly intimidating place. Like, I'm not gonna lie, when I was in LA just a few months back, and I met oh God, the name was Harry Gregson Williams. I met him, and for a moment there, I was intimidated beyond belief. I was very horrified. I was about to. Luckily, I found a bathroom 20 minutes later because I was freaking out. Let me just tell you. And I think when you understand people on a human level, they become a whole lot less intimidating. Like, I'm not saying when I'm at RCP and I see Benjamin Wallfesh walking around, I'm not going to freak out, because I certainly will. But what I am saying is that when you have stuff like MasterClass, which exposes these people on a human level, and helps you to understand the way for which they act, around people, and the way for which they speak, I think it's very, very helpful to the way that we retrieve this information, and I think it's very, very beneficial.
Yeah, I just love his optimism towards every project, and just how he speaks in such organic terms, like talking about character, not because I've tried, I took an AP theory course last year and being like, oh, this will help me with composition. But really, I found the projects I've done the most where it's just like, we did this graphic score project where it's like literally just draw something and interpret it. And those have just been his analogies. The Play-Doh analogy is still one of my favorites of his. And it's really helped me, just like if something comes, like it'll happen. So it's just really helpful, because that's kind of the approach I've taken, is more of that abstract based on character and story than anything.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much. We have a little bit of time left, so I just want to read some of the comments or questions that have come up in the chat. There haven't been a lot, but for anyone who's watching at home, you can always leave a comment later. We'll be in this thread in the hub, and you'll be able to leave a comment. People will read it. If you tag anybody here, they'll be able to answer your questions at a later time too. But there's been a lot of people who have asked about links to all the different projects we've talked about. So if you have a Facebook group that you guys are hosting, or the Discord network, go ahead and leave those links in the thread for in the hub, so that people can link directly to it. You can also share it in the live chat on the YouTube video. One question that came up is people want to know if there's a possibility of doing more of these roundtable discussions in the future. I think it's definitely a possibility. If people want to do them, they're going to continue them. We can figure out what people want to discuss in them. If we're not just going to talk about the community stuff, we can talk about the lessons in more depth. Whatever anyone wants to do, we can start doing that more. What you guys are currently kind of already doing that in some of your projects. You're already talking about the lessons. So if you're looking to do more of lesson discussions, you might want to join one of these different projects to figure out how you can participate in those discussions. You guys have anything left to say before we close it out for today?
I want to change my answer to what I think is the greatest thing about the masterclass.
All right.
I think the community is the best part of the masterclass. And I really think that is where the value comes from with this, because you can watch Hans say pretty much everything that he's said in the masterclass on YouTube interviews, or watch, get just basically the general gist of what he's saying. But with something like this, where you have people from all over the world who are able to connect and have one common goal or one common thing in common, it's you just can't put a price on that. And I mean, for instance, Zach, he's in Dubai. Raymond's he's in my city too, but that was serendipitous. I had no idea Raymond was in Cincinnati before I met him. Bailey's out in Arizona. Ashton, he's over in Indianapolis. Tim's in Florida. And Drew is in England, and I can't remember where Maya said she was from. I'm sorry.
Currently, I am in Australia.
Australia. And like to me that blows my mind that we can all come together and we can all have these kind of same conversations and we can put everything beside us and we can just talk about one thing that we love.
I would love to go around and just see what's everyone's favorite Hans Zimmer score and why. So let's start on my end. We'll just go down through Bailey, Brad, Drew, Kyle, everyone.
Yeah, what do you like, Ashton?
No, it's very difficult. You know, I would have to say the pinnacle of Hans in terms of emotion, in terms of pure beauty in the music and then the thematic material. It has to be Gladiator, and I just have to. It has to be, like, you know, you'd have to be a very dull person to watch that movie and not cry at the end. Like I'm a dude, and I like to say I'm pretty tough, but when it comes to that ending, you know that now we are free. You know, I will see you again, but not today. And that camera goes over the Coliseum, and you got Hans's music and Lisa Gerrard's coming in, and man, those tears begin to flow. You know, Gladiator is it for me. But yeah,
do you need tissue?
I do. I'm already thinking about it right now.
Tough dude.
Yeah.
For me, I just was fortunate enough a few days ago to actually go watch Hans Zimmer live concert. And for me, I don't know, it's everywhere from the Gladiator, Lion King, Dark Knight, oh my gosh, Pirates of the Caribbean. It's just, there's so many different scores that I love and so many different sections because, you know, they all make you feel different things. They're all designed to make you feel different things. They're all set, they have their own purpose. And, you know, you have, just like, I don't think I can make a decision. And I think that's the most honest answer I can give you right now.
For me, I can say I also saw Hans a few weeks ago when he was here in San Francisco, and I think the whole. I thought the same thing. Like when you like see all of his work put together, you're kind of like, oh yeah, he did that too, and oh yeah, that's awesome. So you just remember like how much cool stuff he's done. But that in that night, I think the coolest thing I enjoyed was the piece from Inception. I think he did. Yeah, I think he did the one with where I don't know what it's called, but it's from the scene where like he ends up on the beach at the end, and it's just like
the brilliant thing about that.
Like,
the brilliant thing about that is that like only Hans is the only person who can literally make 4 chords, right? Just these. Hans is the only person that can make 4 chords sound like God.
Yeah.
To be honest, that's so true. It's just 4 chords.
So cool. It's just like, yeah, it's brilliant. Yeah, so that's definitely for me. Like that was like, and I think that's how he closed the set. And I was like, oh yeah, this is awesome. So yeah, that's probably my favorite.
Yeah, for me, I don't know. I mean, now we are free. Yeah, I mean that's a killer, absolute killer. But I'm always drawn towards the darker stuff. So I'm very happy. I think the first Sherlock Holmes film just killed it. I mean, the moment the piano melody comes in, it's just like, you know, that killed it for me. But there's a couple of bits as well in Batman versus Superman that it's just, you know, they're just dark. You know, they're just dark, and that's my scene. You know, so. Those things, I like the light stuff, and I'll happily cry to Now We Are Free. I'll admit that here and now, but still, when it gets down to the stuff that really gets you going, I mean, I play it to my son, and it scares the hell out of him. He's 4.5 years old, you know, and da-da, you know, it's like you play those bits from Superman, and he's like, "What the hell's going on?" So that's the stuff that moves me, I think.
Oh, dude, don't play a Martin Tillman's Batman theme, you know, the Joker theme. That is some scary stuff.
It's dark, yeah, it's dark.
That's no lullaby, I tell you what. So if your child is expecting, you know, a nice, pretty Disney lullaby, and you play the Joker theme from Batman, things are not going to go well that night. I tell you what.
But it's even better when you actually get to feel it in real, because I'm sure, Brad, you've probably experienced like the actual feeling of the vibrations, and I think Hans is a genius with what he's created.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
I think my favorite one has to be Pirates.
Yeah, another classic.
And that just comes from me having, at the time that Pirates was coming out, I actually worked in a movie theater, and that was one of the first times that they did a midnight screening for it. And I got to see it early, and I got to experience that. And then I got to listen to the soundtrack every single night after that as the credits rolled, because I was sitting in there cleaning up the theater from all the kids that were throwing popcorn everywhere. So it's like ingrained in my DNA.
Anybody else want to share what your favorite was?
Raymond?
Sherlock.
Yes.
Pirates, and then Dark Knight. So I mean, and then Interstellar. Each thing he does has a different different purpose, captures a different emotion. So yeah, I love it.
Yeah. Okay, I have 3, but I'll go super duper fast. So, oh wait, are we going in order? Or are we just kind of going? I don't know.
No, go for it.
Okay, so I have 3. So one is Pirates of the Caribbean at World's End, because that was actually I remember my dad let me borrow his iPod, and that was like the first film score I'd ever listened to. So I like attribute that to like get me into this. Dark Knight actually kind of scared me at first when I first listened to it. And then the third one would be The Prince of Egypt. Like I don't know. That's kind of an oddball, but that's probably one of my favorites.
Huh. Timothy?
I don't know.
Yeah, it's like asking who's your favorite band, right? Like I wake up and it's a different score is my favorite. Right now, probably The Dark Knight, because I'm just kind of circling back around. I know, it's cliche, I know, but still.
My favorite would be The Ring and Lion King.
Sweet.
Cool.
Yeah, I was
Awesome.
interested.
Thanks so much, guys. Thank you everyone for watching at home. I saw that Maya, I think it was Maya that posted all the links to everything in the thread. It was you, right, Maya? So you guys have links to everything in there. If you have any questions, leave it in the thread. Tag the people that you want to tag. Any final thoughts before we head out and say goodbye?
Can I just put a shameless plug in actually for something? I was hoping to mention it earlier but didn't get the chance. Is that all right? Is that Brad?
Yeah.
Cool.
Go ahead.
We've got we're halfway through doing an interview which could be interesting to some people with Tom Howe, who's just recently finished Wonder Woman, and we're halfway through doing an interview with him. Which is quite cool actually, and there's some more insights there. Obviously, he had to kind of sit down with Hans using the theme, the melody and everything, and work through it himself and Rupert Gregson-Williams. So that's something we're doing, and he's also basically said that he's up for doing a live Q&A as well in the Discord server pretty soon. So we're just looking to confirm the date on that. So yeah, I just wanted to mention that because that's quite exciting. And again, I think the Q&A, if people didn't get the chance to be involved in the Hans Zimmer one, because obviously it was quite short, and obviously I'm sure you had a ton of questions there. Maybe there's another opportunity to ask somebody who's kind of who's working on some of those kind of films to maybe get your question across again. So that'll be happening quite soon. So again, just kind of head on into the Discord server and you'll see messages posted when the date's going to be.
Awesome. That sounds actually really, really cool. So if you guys want to join that, head to the Discord network, for the Composers Network, and you guys can participate in that. All right, but for now, that's everything for today. Thanks everyone again for joining us. Thanks everyone at home for watching.
Thank you.
We can do more of these if everyone's excited. We'll use these same hosts if you want, or we can host with other people who anyone wants to participate. All right, guys.
Great.
See you later.
Thanks again, Brad.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.